Iran sends a horde of drones to attack, and yet now their president and their foreign minister died. Charlie, you think everything adds up on that one?
I woke up to read this and I was like, great.
I mean, you know, it happens sometimes. Now, to be fair, when it comes to Iran, the president doesn't do anything. I mean, the Ayatollah, like they said, the Ayatollah's in charge. I don't know. The president, I'm sure, goes and waves a flag and, screams death to America or something. But Ayatollah is the one that's really doing everything. So, I think if it was a meaningful assassination, they would have gone for the Ayatollah, God knows where he's hiding. Welcome to Loaded Talk. I am your congressman, the third most popular candidate to ever be. I am Frank, and along with me, as always,
What's up, planet Earth? I'm Bean.
the Bean Meister, Charlie. I heard someone complain about talk radio, morning zoo type radio. They're like, it's always somebody's name and then like an animal or something. It's like Frank and the Bear, whatever. We didn't do the animal route. We just went for the bean. Legumes. All right. So we had a couple weeks off for the Mother's Day stuff due to florist things. And now we're back. And a lot of stuff has been going on, continues to go on. We missed a lot of fun stuff, but I don't want to rehash everything. But the breaking news today that we all woke up with is that Iran's president and foreign minister die in a helicopter crash at moments of high tensions in the Mideast. Believe it or not, high tensions in the Mideast. All right. So this AP. Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi and the country's foreign minister were found dead, who doesn't get to be named, were found dead Monday, hours after their helicopter crashed in the fog, leaving the Islamic Republic without two key leaders as extraordinary tensions grip the wider Middle East. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who has the final say in the Shiite theocracy, quickly named a little-known vice president as a caretaker and insisted the government was in control, but the deaths marked yet another blow to a country beset by pressures at home and abroad. So let's hear about it. So Iran's offered no cause for the crash, nor suggested sabotage brought down the helicopter, which fell in a mountainous terrain in a sudden and intense fog. It kind of looks like on that map there that they were looking to leave Iran, or maybe coming back in. Or they just like flying helicopters around the mountains because it's beautiful, perhaps. Let's see. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. People went to school. People cried. People whatever. So, that's a hell of a way to start a day. Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of stuff going on with Israel and Palestine and that whole region. Every now and then, Iran sends a horde of drones to attack, and yet now their president and their foreign minister died. Charlie, you think everything adds up on that one?
I woke up to read this and I was like, great.
I mean, it happens sometimes. Now, to be fair, when it comes to Iran, the president doesn't do anything. I mean, the Ayatollah, like they said, the Ayatollah's in charge. I don't know. The president, I'm sure, goes and waves a flag and, screams death to America or something. But Ayatollah is the one that's really doing everything. So, I think if it was a meaningful assassination, they would have gone for the Ayatollah, God knows where he's hiding. Only Allah knows. But it is interesting that as they fly on the border of another country, I'm pulling up a map. I know Azerbaijan is there, but what else could you get to? Like Armenia. What's this little? Okay. Is there any reason? Okay. Maybe if you're trying to get to Turkey, or maybe if you're flying over to Russia, that'd be a thing. Get over Azerbaijan and Georgia, and suddenly you're You're in Russia. That could have been interesting. I mean, they're in a helicopter, northern border in a mountainous region, or in the north of the northern border, south of the border. But if you look, it's like Azerbaijan. It's like, okay, something could be going on there, I guess. It's like, or maybe they're going to Turkey. Maybe, probably not likely.
So you think it was partially foiled?
I don't know if I think it was. I mean, so one thing, I didn't go on to read in the article, but there's been an embargo against like airplane parts and helicopter parts in Iran that the U.S. put on there.
No.
Yeah, believe it or not. And so they haven't been able to get steady parts for a while, and so some of their parts are aftermarket or black market parts. Because you got to find someone willing to sell to them when, the United States says you may not, if you like banking and using U.S. dollars. So, it could have been foiling, or it could have been that it had faulty parts, and it could have been that, granted, it's their country. They can go wherever they want. But they're very, very far away from the capital. It's like Tehran, where they are, and with all the stuff going on, one of the things that we get reported often that aren't really challenged, so I tend to believe it. Some sources that I get some stuff from, I tend to believe are not BSing me, because sometimes you hear things and you're like, war machine. It's all, okay, like we got to be mad at Iran all the time. We should invade them. Their nuclear power. We should go to war with them now. And it's like, all right. The problem is, of course, that we've been wanting to go to war with Iran since George H.W. Bush. So it's like, all right, well, is there a threat, or is it just the same old dudes wanting to have the same old war that they've been wanting to have? But anyway, but what's reported a lot is that Iran has this dirty little fingers involved in both what's going on in Israel, but also Russia. They help maybe funnel weapons up to Russia. I don't know exactly everything that goes on, but I know Russia and Iran have been known to have a cozy relationship. So it wouldn't be, I wouldn't take a helicopter, I don't think, unless they're just meeting the southernmost part of Russia, but that would be what would be interested in. It's like, a lot of people are looking over at the Ukrainian border where a lot of action's happening. You can look over at the capital or what have you. Look at Moscow, look at St. Petersburg. Was anybody chilling in that southern chunk? Was Pooty Poot or anybody down there for any reason? I don't think we'll ever find out. But, I don't know. It easily could just be one of those things. They don't know how to maintain their helicopter, or at least they don't have the parts to. And it just fell apart. Or, it could be that maybe with them sending all the attacks at Israel, and, when they sent that whole drone fleet in, Iran was just like, here's a couple missiles. We're going to hit a couple buildings that doesn't really have anybody in there. But you're also not going to see it on your radars at all. So guess what? We can strike you anytime we want to. It would be an interesting follow-up. So then they'd be like, also, we took out your president. Like Massie went in there and just made a little twisty on a bolt there, and all of a sudden everything falls apart right into a mountain. Or, I don't know what else. But that's not out of the realm of possibility, I don't think. It would be an interesting move in that, if the Ayatollah, if he was like straight up assassinated, even if he died like this, but if he's shot or something like that, all fingers going to Israel and America, and probably rightfully so, because odds are that's who would be involved. Just odds are that's who's involved. It's Saddam Hussein's gone. He didn't like Iran very much. So now, it's us. It's us. It's Israel. It's America. But if you wanted to take out, just to make a message, take out the president, the foreign minister. It's like, what do these people do? It's like whatever the Ayatollahs. They could literally be anybody. These people, they're interchangeable. So I could definitely see it being a bit of a message. This has just happened this morning, so we don't know how this is going to shake out, if this is going to expand. What do you think? Do you think it's going to end here? Do you think there's going to, at some point, do you think they're going to start? Because right now they're not blaming anybody.
For humanity, I hope it ends here.
Yeah. 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 I do too. But I mean, you know.
Because if I was Iran, I would run with this.
That's one of the interesting things about it. You know, when Israel shot those missiles in, they downplayed it a lot. They're like, oh, this is nothing. Like, didn't they say it was something like the children would play with, the type of explosives they drop?
Yeah, the toys they would play with.
Yeah, like, they dropped some fireworks on us. Big deal. You know, so this one, they're like, we got nothing to say about it. We miss him. He was a great man. It's like, oh, okay. You're not going to try and stoke any fires?
Your shoulders.
Yeah, like, that's the weird thing. It's like, they're when they had there's like a virus or some sort of software thing attacking where they're developing the nuclear plant. They were quick to blame Israel on that one, probably because it was Israel on that one. I'm not saying they're wrong when they blame Israel. I'm just,
stating the obvious.
Yeah, but they like to do it. So it's odd on this one and on the missile one. There, it's just like, they're like, no, nothing to see here. That's what makes me think there's something to see there all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's just helicopter in the fog in the mountains. It's just weird.
And so my dad had a buddy who was a pilot, and one of his kind of jobs in his past life was going to Saudi Arabia to train, I think it was Saudi Arabia, but to train fighter pilots. And so it was that whole, U.S. is partnering and helping and all that. And the way you become a fighter pilot in America is, you go through the training and all that kind of stuff, and you test out, you join, you train, you get in, you don't get in, you test, whatever. And if you're good enough, you make it. The way they were doing it in Saudi Arabia at that time, maybe still today, I don't know, was basically, because a fighter pilot's a cool job, right? So you give it to, your cousin's son. He's never going to inherit whatever the hell, but it's a prestigious job. Like, you're a hero now. Congratulations. And so is that kind of thing. The same sort of nepotism. Just like, you can be I am proud of you. You are now a fighter pilot. Good job. Just, in this totally lack of merit way. And so, you start off with these people that don't even have like a passion for it.
Right.
Like for flight.
So dangerous.
And so, but what he found was, after doing stuff for, first of all, he's like, how come these people never learn anything? Like, they never, we have to tell them the same things over and over again. It was frustrating them. And he goes, no one I've ever trained in my entire life takes this many repetitions to learn something. But then he said, as soon as the sun started to dip down, he is like, they went totally blind. He was like, nobody could see anything. And they had no night vision. And so finally, they started thinking about it, and they're like, I wonder if it's years of inbreeding. All it's a royal family. And how do royals get down? They all marry off to one another, cousins and all that kind of crap. And we've kind of gotten away from that in a lot of Western societies. But they still do the royalty thing, the monarchy thing. So that was his theory. It was I think it's generations of inbreeding have affected their eyesight and possibly their brain power too. But so I do wonder if maybe the helicopter pilot also didn't have good night vision. I know it's a different nation, I know different system, but I don't know. Maybe he was not great and poor visibility, and a foggy mountain is a good way to run into a mountain, especially if you don't know what you're doing.
Wasn't that happen to the basketball player?
Oh, Kobe Bryant.
Kobe Bryant was Foggy Mountain too.
Was it a mountain?
Yeah,
I remember
in Cali or whatever. I think.
I remember his weather. Yeah.
Yeah,
that sucked. Oh man, it was heartbreaking too when you heard the reason that he was taking the helicopter. He was and look, Los Angeles traffic's ridiculous, and so he just realized I can either sit in traffic for 3 to 4 hours, or I can spend that time with my family. And like, it's like, oh, crap. That's a great reason to take a helicopter and then like to die with your daughter on the way back from a basketball game, like while you're being that was, I know it's in the past, but like, phew, that was no good. And I wasn't even a huge Kobe fan, but like, I mean, compared to LeBron, Kobe's awesome. I just, people were very quick to make the Jordan comparison, but Kobe was a lot closer to Jordan than LeBron is, like, I don't, anyway. So yeah, we'll see how this shakes out. Maybe it's a Archduke Ferdinand moment, sets off World War One. So now we're gonna have Archduke, whatever. I already forgot the president's name. That dude, Ibrahim. Like maybe he's the guy that sets off World War Three. I hope not. When's the last time you looked into World War One?
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
There's like in Kansas City, there's a World War One museum. And it's a cool museum, a cool building. But when you start looking into it, you go, wait, everybody that was mad at each other, they're all related to it? This was a family spat? They were just mad at each other. It was cousins arguing with one another. And because everybody was so gung-ho about signing military treaties, it was like, well, I'm going to war against you, and that means you have to come with me, people. And they're like, I guess we gotta go. And the other was, well, I've got my own alliances. And then it's like, all right, here we go. We're going to a world war because this family can't get along. I mean, at least World War II had Nazis, and like, yeah, like at least that was something.
See you on the playground at 3:00.
I know, this is just like, people arguing, I think, over inheritance and crap, like it's just a very wealthy royal family beefing with one another, and somehow everyone had to get involved with it. And then we had to punish just the living crap out of Germany afterwards since they lost. And then that brought us Adolf Hitler. Oh, and of course there was the British and the English to a certain degree. I mean, the French and the English, and to a certain degree the Americans, that divvied up the Ottoman Empire to make sure that wasn't powerful. And that was Sykes-Picot, which did inspire ISIS and a number of Islamic terrorists after that. So we won.
Perfect.
We won World War One. Man, nothing bad can happen when you win a world war. All right. I'm going to get back to my thingy. My monitor is down today, so I'm back to using my cell phone like a caveman. All right, this is more exciting news. I don't know, exciting for everyone, but definitely if you lean libertarian. Thomas Massie, the good congressman out of Kentucky, arguably the best congressman we have. He's introduced legislation that seeks to end the Federal Reserve, which has operated as the nation's central banking system since it was created more than 110 years ago. H.R. 8421, the Federal Reserve Board Abolition Act, abolishes the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve and its banks. It also repeals the Federal Reserve Act, which is a 1913 law that created the Federal Reserve System. Let's see. In announcing it, Massie said that Americans would be better off with the Fed and blamed it for rapid inflation. Like, literally, they're in charge of how much money is printed. That is what inflation is. There's no one else. I mean, Congress is to blame to a degree, of course, for wanting to spend it, but the Fed theoretically can say no because they're not a government institution. They're just a private company that controls our money. All right, Massie said, Americans are suffering under crippling inflation and the Federal Reserve's to blame. During COVID, the Federal Reserve created trillions of dollars out of thin air and loaned it to the Treasury Department to enable unprecedented deficit spending. By monetizing the debt, the Federal Reserve devalued the dollar and enabled free money policies that caused the high inflation we see today. What else did he say? Yeah, through the process, retirees see their savings evaporate due to the actions of central banking. Okay, it's got a lot of sponsors. Not Luna. Which is disappointing. There's a lot of people that she hangs out with that were sponsors on this.
They called him a libertarian Republican.
Yeah, and that's kind of what he goes. But he's a member of the GOP, but he's by far the most libertarian member of the GOP. And like a lot of things he goes after are, fairly libertarian stances. which is why he's one of the best. If Justin Amash, well, he'll be a senator actually. Justin Amash was a representative out of Michigan, and he actually denounced the GOP and became a libertarian. Now, what he did to mess it all up was instead of staying in Congress and winning re-election as a libertarian, he just served out his term during the Trump era and then said, I'm retiring from all this mess. And then, but now he's running for Senate back as a Republican. I guess it's a lot easier to win with one of those big parties with you. But anyway, but Massie, Justin Amash, I mean, they're both very strong libertarian-leaning people. Out of curiosity, as libertarians, we're often told how the Federal Reserve is not a winning issue because everybody's eyes kind of glass over and no one cares. So, what is your familiarity with the Federal Reserve, Charlie?
Familiarity as in opinion, or
Yeah, whatever your thoughts are on the Federal Reserve.
I mean, I don't like the fact that it has so much power, but like you said, it has the power to say no and doesn't.
Well, yeah, exactly. Let me hear how much hullabaloo. I want to make sure I didn't forget about an appointment that I have. No, I'm good. Okay. Little cranky pants out there barking. I was like, I thought it was another vendor. Anyway, so, all right. So, the Federal Reserve System, you basically have, I forget how many banks it is, but like the top 5 or 6 or 7 banks, however many it is. So, Bank of America, Chase, by far, whoever else, I don't know. They all are like or not even just members. I mean, they're members of the bank.
Right,
yeah, but they're like voting members, and there's a board, but the board is typically like elected people. It's this weird thing. It's not a part of the government. It makes it sound like it is, but they're in charge of printing money, and and they also set interest rates because all the banks, that's who you borrow from. You can borrow from other banks, of course. But if you are a Chase Manhattan or whatever, JP Morgan Chase, and you need to borrow $1 trillion for whatever, like that's who you go to. It's the Federal Reserve. They loan the $1 trillion to Chase at whatever the rates they talk about they're setting.
Prime rate, I believe.
Yeah. And then they lend it to us. Chase would lend it to us at an elevated rate from there. So for the longest time, they kept it at 0%. And so money was just free. So if you're an investment banker and you can borrow money with no interest due on it, well, you're going to invest in everything because, like, why wouldn't you? Like, if you can get a 1% return on this thing that costs you 0%, I mean, it's a win, and that's a crappy investment. But as you squash the rates like that, print money out of hand, dollars devalue. Anyway, so they control all the printing of our dollars. We're not allowed to audit them. Like, I think they have something incredible, like, is it 20 years or 80 years or something? They have an incredible amount of time before they even have to tell us what they do with their money, And so, like, the 5 or 6, however many banks, will all get together and they go, all right, we think the chairman of the Fed should be one of these people. And so they give a little list, and then the president goes, well, I nominate this person, and that person gets in. But it's not like they can't just nominate Ron Paul, Like, you're in charge of the Fed now, Ron Paul. Because it has to be one of these pre-selected people. And so it gives this air that, like, the president selects the chairman, but the president doesn't select the chairman. It's just, that's who they nominate. And, it's probably got a little pull. Helps you win the votes you actually need to become the chair. But the goal, once we got off the gold standard, because we thought, like, we need better control. We need smart people controlling our money because just supply and demand, there's, boom and bust cycles, and it's erratic, and there can be depressions, and we just can't deal with this. We need smart people that will keep inflation at 2%, which is their goal for every year, is for there to be 2% inflation, which sucks.
Yeah, why?
Because that's the smart, safe level. That's smart monetary policy, is what they say. And if you increase 2% every single year, that's not good for the dollar that you hold. That's bad for the dollar that you hold. But they don't really care about people. The Federal Reserve is not a community bank, and they don't care about community banks. They care about Wall Street. They care about big fat cats, And in that way, they care about greater society because, obviously if Chase is doing well, Bank of America doing well, if they're doing good, they'll be more effective. They'll invest in more things. They'll give out more loans. They'll do all this. So, they can really justify whatever they want. And the other fun thing is, say a country like the United States gets horribly in debt. I know they wouldn't do that. Well, let's just pretend they get just tens of trillions of dollars in debt and it's unsustainable. Well, if you keep printing money and keep inflating or devaluing the currency, 30 trillion ain't so bad if now it has a spending power, less than that. It's okay, well, 30 trillion is not so bad because we've changed the value of 30 trillion and it's devalued. And they go, oh, that's good. So America is in a better position. Yes. It's what about everyone's savings accounts? Well, you're screwed. We've changed the value of a dollar by quite a bit. So everyone has lost a third of the value of the money that they have, but we don't have as much interest. You go, cool. And then say I don't know, say you want to start a 20-year war in another country, maybe even try to rebuild the country in your own image, while maybe going to war in other countries too. And we need money for this. And you go, well, we're all tapped out. We don't have any money. Should we raise taxes to 100% on everybody? They go, no, they'll probably kill us. It's yeah, that's a good point. It's well, the Fed comes through and goes, well, just print it. You need money to pay. We have money. Look, got all the money you need. There you go. What do you want? $1 trillion, $2 trillion, $5 trillion? You hear this quantitative easing stuff, and that's because we don't have to print anymore. We just go 0, 0, 0. There we go. We have more money now. And it's everything's good. But the Federal Reserve is, ranting in different directions on it. But the Federal Reserve has been nasty in so many ways, and there's so many problems that we have as a country that would be better without. Because if it wasn't such a corrupt institution too, it's not government, but they collude with government. They're hanging out with the Congress people. They're hanging out with the president. Well, maybe not the president, but they're hanging out with all those types of people. And they're not immune to politics, They've been pretending, and I'm kind of proud of myself for calling this. Well, I didn't call this, but I heard some smart investor types last year ago. Everyone was oh, the Fed is signaling that they're going to start lowering rates in 2024. And there's a few people are looking at it. They go, I don't see why they would. There's no metrics that would indicate it. They're just saying, they go, the other thing they announced, or they didn't announce they would, they said they're pretty sure they will. They're considering lowering rates. So I'm yeah, that doesn't sound like they're going to lower rates. And it's okay, so in the election year, you're going to keep considering lowering rates, which of course will spur, stock market type stuff. But they're not going to do it. Or maybe they will. They're running out of time. So maybe they will late summer or early fall. I forget when their next meeting is. There's still time to lower it, but really at that point, it's not going to get you the political oomph that you need. Because even the stock market booms and Bitcoin booms or whatever, no one's going to be hey, the economy has been great all along. It's just going to be oh, okay, Biden sucks, but here's something that's happening. But yeah, between like foreign wars, the devaluing of our dollar, which once again they're totally indifferent to, it helps when if $2 becomes worth only $1, but you have the machine to print 5 of them. Who cares? Who cares? So hopefully it passes the House. Hopefully the Speaker even puts it up for a vote, because that guy has quickly shown himself to not be a stark defender of the Constitution or a small government Republican or whatever the hell they thought he was. He pretty much pushes everything through, especially if the Democrats like it. This one's controversial, possibly, so he might not pass it through. But Massie's been trying to do the audit the Fed, now end the Fed, and I support it 100%. The Federal Reserve sucks. We should not have some foreign company with the sole authority over our cash, And like I get people, well, we shouldn't give it to government too. It's like, all right, but this system doesn't work, And at least if we were on like a gold standard, then it'd be pegged to our gold holdings. It's like, we've got this much gold, we issue this many notes, worth it. Excuse me. That yawn was hanging in there for a while. I thought it was going to go away, and then it just attacked.
That was extreme.
Oh, man. It just, like when you're trying to hold back a cough, then it comes and gets you. That one got me. But no, it's, if it's gold backed, then we buy more gold to print more dollars. Or, if the dollar becomes worth more, and so it's like, hey, we don't have as many dollars to spend, so this thing's only a dime, then like, cool. Like, because, the idea that we need things to cost $10 million. I need this house for $10 million. It's like, well, that house probably wouldn't even be $10 million if not for inflation, Like, there was very nice houses for not that much money before inflation went out of control, thanks to the Federal Reserve. All right. That's another little update from today. I'm going to get back to my screen here. Okay, so another thing that happened kind of at the end of last week is, have you heard that we have a presidential election going on this year?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, it's two up-and-coming newcomers. Upstarts, hotshot, wunderkin, Joe Biden. Joe Biden and Donald Trump. And so I didn't know if there was going to be debates, but at the end of last week, they decided there would be debates, at least 2 of them. And, Biden has some rules. So who cares about that? So basically, based off of the last time they debated, the Biden team resolved in private that if Biden ever faced Trump on a debate stage, there would be no one in the peanut gallery. That demand became part of a re-election campaign's agreed-upon proposal to Trump this week for their 2 general election debates, one in June and the other in September. An empty TV studio could, Biden aides feel, deprive their GOP rival of a major advantage when they face off. Trump feeds off the crowd. They give him life, said one Biden advisor, who was granted anonymity. We wanted to take that away. There were several conditions that the Biden team felt were necessary in order to agree to the debate with former president. Among them, at least one forum take place before the start of early voting, and that the hosts weren't from outlets with ideological bent towards Trump. Not towards Biden, of course, just towards Trump. So they just didn't want Fox News, basically. But in interviews with more than a half dozen officials and advisors who were not authorized to discuss it, the issue of the crowd was consistent. And so they don't like all the hooping and hollering and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so they set rules like no crowd. They want to make it so it's a TV network that did both a DNC and GOP debate, the last round of primaries for each. And, so who did both of them? So I think it's like ABC, CNN, somebody else. But, no Fox News. CNN's neutral. ABC's neutral.
Sure.
Yeah, it's all these neutral people. And Trump had a demand. I don't know how serious it is, but did you hear what Trump's requesting for the debate?
But I'm curious.
I want you to channel Trump. Just take one single guess.
Like his request or his demand.
What is he requesting for the debates from the Biden team?
Is it something food related?
Could be.
Now I don't know.
He's requesting a drug test. He says, I want to have a drug test because when he did that State of the Union, he was all doped up. Oh, man. So, yeah, it's, Biden's demands are no crowds, safe moderators, or early, too. He wants an hour early, because who wants to stay up late? Which, the way I'm yawning today, I think I agree with him.
Is it because he'll fall asleep?
I mean, there's two reasons. One, yeah, because he goes to bed after Matlock at 6:30. I wonder if there's still Matlock.
I just pictured the suit in my head.
I wonder if there's even reruns for Matlock anymore. If it's so old that even that reference is too old. Makes me old, really. But yeah, so it's either because he goes nighty night after Matlock, or it's because he doesn't want anybody to see the debates. So it's like, put it on a friendly network, don't allow a crowd there, so there is no reaction. So the TV crowd can't be like, oh, snap. Like, the TV crowd won't be hooting and hollering or whatever. And then do it early, so it's not prime time, so everyone's busy with, getting their kids ready and dinner and things like that. And just hide, basically. Just hide it as much as possible.
If I was on Trump's team, I would put in his earpiece a cheer track so that he still feels like there's a crowd and can pump himself up.
That's a good idea. But they don't wear earpieces, Charlie.
Oh, that's right. Right. Nobody's in their ear.
Yeah, no, they're all honest debaters. So things are going well for Biden because those are signs of strength. Oh, God. Yeah, I didn't even pull up the video. We should do that real quick. Hold on. Did you see the video of Biden announcing that he wanted to debate?
Oh, that was great.
Oh, yeah, I got it on the Twitters. Let's see if I can. I got to pull it up here. Biden, bring it on debate video. No, this thing's so ridiculous. The fact that he needed 37 edits just to get through this, it's 14 seconds or something. Let's see. I think I'm gonna keep this muted for a second. No, this is just talking about it. I'll do one more link and then I might give up. Let's see. Anytime, any place. Al Jazeera. That's always where you go for good information. Let's see. Okay, this will link to. This will link to the Twitter thing. I'll send it to you. Bloop. Yeah, this is easily the most ridiculous video, especially for the amount of time it took. Oh, make sure we got our audio on.
Yeah, I just switched it.
Okay, cool. There we go. Okay. Oh no, I'm all hung up.
Donald Trump lost 2 debates to me in 2020. And since then, he hadn't shown up for debate. Now he's acting like he wants to debate me again. Well, make my day, pal. I'll even do it twice. First, pick the dates, Donald. I hear you're free on Wednesdays.
Free on Wednesdays.
What is that?
That was his good. That's his good line.
What's Wednesday?
Nailed him.
Wednesday?
Got him.
I hope everyone watching this is just getting a crack. Oh, they didn't see it. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. Okay.
Let me just get his face. Let's just go over That's his face.
Oh, we didn't have it on the video.
No, I
That's
messed up
all right.
on that one.
Oh well.
Sorry, guys.
But when it's a knock on his court appearances, like his court trial schedule. Like I guess he is free on Wednesdays. I guess it's not scheduled. That was a knock of the fact that he has a criminal trial going on, and so he's available on Wednesdays. So got him. But like that whole thing, the jump cuts, where because it was 14 seconds, I think. And like there was an edit. I mean, maybe every 2 seconds, maybe second and a half. I mean, that was a lot of cuts.
Yeah, every statement was a cut.
Yeah, and it's like, I get that they're trying to do something, and I know with like TikTok kind of video culture, there's edits, and people don't care about it being smooth. They just cut, jumping, cut, and people don't care about like quality. But like that's different than what this guy's doing, because it's like it's not just different angles, sometimes the same angle or jumping for no reason, but like there's just no reason to make that many edits. That's a sign of unless you're doing something stylishly awesome, it tends to be the sign of a poorly planned scene. It's like, well, we couldn't get any good long shots on anything, so we gotta just edit around the bad acting or whatever. So I mean, clearly it's because you can't remember anything. But like, it was just so weak. Just bring it. He debated me. He hasn't debated since. Bring it on. It's like, yeah, he didn't debate. He kind of stole it out of Joe Biden's book, where he was like, I'm just going to run for the basement and try not to do anything, At least in the DNC, he was able to do that. And so, like, Trump did it for the GOP and ends up, yeah, that worked. He was like, I'm a clear front runner. I'm not going to participate. And it paid off. I don't know how this is going to, I mean, if Trump can avoid doing what he did the first debate against Biden, which is when he just interrupted him constantly, and instead of every time Biden was about to look feeble and like stupid, Trump interrupted him to try and tell him to shut up. And so instead of Biden getting through his sentence or like showing that he did not know the end of his sentence, like instead of him getting through anyway, like he never got to that because Trump would like cut him off and be like, "You're a butthole." And everyone's like, instead of Biden looking incompetent, Trump looked like a butthole. And if he avoids that, like I just don't see how Biden does anything. Because Biden, I mean, in the vice presidential debates when he was with Obama, he's like a bully debater, and it works against what was Mitt Romney's VP, the guy that was Speaker of the House for a little bit, and he was supposed to be a finance genius, and then he just gave it all away. He was like, who needs to understand numbers when I can just be in government? Paul Ryan, when he first got to Congress, he was like, hey, look, this is how to balance the budget. And I forget, 5 years or whatever. He had this whole thing. He's like, there you go. It's actually really easy. It doesn't take many cuts. Everyone's like, oh my God, he sat down with the budget. Like, this guy's sharp. And then, like, after the VP thing didn't work out, and then, like, he just became a turd. They're like, who cares about balancing the budget? Why don't we just not do that? Anyway, Paul Ryan, though, I thought during that debate that, like, because Paul Ryan had this reputation of being kind of a policy wonk and a nerd, that he was going to kind of, like, substance all over Biden's face. And, but instead, Biden came out like an attack dog and was just, facts were not the important thing in the matter as much as it was shouting down, accusations, and all that. So if you were neutral on the matter, or if you didn't know the facts yourselves, then he whooped the tar out of Paul Ryan. I mean, that was the consensus afterwards, was that Joe Biden won that debate, and he did. I mean, he dragged that little boy up and down the aisle, and it did not work out for him. The Trump debates, though, it's hard to out-bully Donald Trump. I haven't seen it happen yet. So I don't know how this is going to go for old Joe. But lots of things are going well for Joe Biden. Recently, he announced he's going to change the scheduling on marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. And he's just doing that to be friendly, not for any political purposes whatsoever. Speaking of a similar article, did you hear he's suspending the banning of menthol cigarettes?
Permanently or temporarily?
Temporarily.
Oh.
They're going to look into it until after. Yeah, wait till after the election to look into it again.
Interesting.
Yeah, because, menthol is just marketing to children as a flavor, tobacco. And then it was like, hey, did you know you have an extremely low approval rating in the black community, and somehow Donald Trump has something like 29%, which I guess the last election, it was something like 9 or something like that at this time. And so it's like, it's mainly black dudes. I think black women are still like very much Democrats, but a lot of black dudes are either saying, I'm not going to vote, or like, I don't know, I like Trump. And so it's not good when you're a Democrat if you're giving up 30 points in the black community to the Republican. It's bad. And like I think the Hispanic vote, Trump has something like 50%, 51%, 49, something around 50%, which for the guy who's like famous for build the wall, kick him out, all that kind of stuff. And like, oh, he hates Hispanics. It's like, well, I guess half the Hispanics like him. Right. So whatever. But anyway, yeah, so Biden, his people decided they needed that black vote, so they got menthol cigarettes back because, that's what the people want. And then
the black people want.
That's all black people care about is menthol cigarettes.
Apparently.
If you don't vote for him, you ain't black. But don't worry. Black people care about 2 things. Menthol cigarettes, marijuana. And so the Daily Caller, this article says, not going to suffice. New York Times reporter pours cold water on Biden's plan to energize black voters with marijuana action. So, New York Times White House correspondent Zolan Kano-Youngs told CNN on Friday that President Joe Biden's administration's effort to reschedule marijuana to reduce criminal punishment will not be sufficient to secure black vote. The DOJ revealed a proposal on Thursday to reclassify marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, which would reduce, not eliminate, federal penalties related to marijuana possession if approved. Kano-Young noted that on Inside Politics with Dana Bash that this would take significant time to take effect, and black voters are more concerned about economic issues. Let's see. He says here, it's early, and we're looking at polling here, but one, I can tell you that these numbers have the attention of some of the President Biden's closest political advisors. They're worried about this frustration thus far because this very much is the base of the party, and in a way, sort of scrambling for different policy achievements now that you can show that you can energize not just voters in the black community. Wait, what is it? So, blah, blah, let me say. They are worried about this frustration thus far because this very much is the base of the party, and in a way, sort of scrambling for different policy achievements now that you can show that can energize not just voters in the black community, which is obviously not a monolith, but specifically young black voters as well. So that falls as the marijuana announcement definitely is an example of that. Black Georgia Republicans voters told MSNBC on Wednesday that the former president Donald Trump's legal struggles have caused them to back him more passionately. I mean, they're Republicans. Oh, look, that's essentially a proposed rule, this dude continued. It's not going to take effect for a while. It's like a long, arduous process. The fact that the president put out a video with it yesterday, a week after the Justice Department sort of recommendation to the White House, even shows just the urgency to really find something to energize these voters. But I do want to say, too, look, when we talk about young black voters, when we talk about voters in the black community, Many of the concerns are the same that many American voters have. It's the economy, right? It's frustration about affordability. So just looking for sort of different announcements, such as marijuana announcements, is not going to suffice. So, here's this announcement. We don't have to watch that.
I just want to see the picture of him. It's just, it's every time he's coming out of a movie theater into daylight. That's a great movie.
Yeah, they have pulled that face so tight. It's affected his ears. That's how tight. Like, have you seen the conspiracy theories that it's a different person? Where,
Yeah.
It's just funny, but like in reality, it's just there's only so much you can do. Like he lost his earlobes. His face got pulled tight. He has no earlobes. Let's see this picture now. I want to see it. Yeah, where are they? Anyway, so apparently you can vote for someone else and remain black, is what this article seems to be implying. But remember, for the midterms, Biden said, all right, anybody on simple, everyday, federal prison for simple marijuana possession, which, of course, countless number of person is there for possession in federal prison, because it's often that possession is a federal crime somehow. I guess they chase you from Mississippi to Alabama. And they go, ha-ha! Gotcha! And then you go to federal prison for it. But anyway, he pardoned all that person. And, so that brought huge support. And now he's doubling up on that great success. And rescheduling, not legalizing, but rescheduling. Now, if you reschedule it so it was the same as like aspirin and caffeine, what is Schedule 3? Let's see. But either way, that would be something. But like, say,
it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a step in the right. I mean, and I'll give him credit for that. Like, it is a step in the right direction. I'm glad it's not being classified like heroin. But it's also fake. That's my problem with it. And like they're gonna open it up for comment, which is a normal part of ChangeNet. So there's a comment period, and there's people are gonna file briefs and stuff like that. And so the chance that like there's no political will to see this through, I mean, is strong. Like they very well could just. There's a lot of stuff that's Schedule 3. What the hell are all these things? I don't know what any of these things are. This is a lot of drugs. I'm not familiar enough with drugs. MKO Melt Dose Pack. Oh, ketamine. I know what that is. Estrogens. Well, estrogens Schedule 3. I mean,
That's weird.
yeah. Testosterone. Oh, Suboxone. Suboxone and Subutex. Those are the things that help you not if you're trying to kick opiates, you take those. Well, I mean, I guess this isn't so bad. Schedule 3 is a lot of the stuff is aspirin, butyl, and caffeine. Okay, I mean, maybe this does seem fine. Ooh, aspirin with codeine. I think it should be lower than aspirin with codeine. A lot of testosterone on here. A lot of testosterone on here. People be doing some testosterone. It's all testosterone and opiate. Shit to kick opiates and take testosterone. All right. But yeah, it's just... it's a Hail Mary, it feels like. I feel like it's... really, I kind of disagree on it, that it's aimed at... Well, I don't know. It's definitely aimed at the black community. They definitely think that, menthol cigarettes and marijuana will get them where they need to get. It also could be for the know-nothing college kids, though they pretty reliably vote Democrat. Excuse me. If they vote at all. I mean, they get around the same percentages all the time. So maybe they're trying to, if they get a higher percentage of like college age kids, instead of like those college kids just not voting because they don't vote, because like that's the problem. Like they reliably vote Democrat more than Republican, but they don't reliably vote, So it might be just one way where it's like, well, we make up for it if a bunch of these college kids are like, I'm voting for Joe for legal marijuana. But so many states have legal weed, whether it's medicinal or recreational. And so I don't think it has the oomph, you know? Like, if he was saying, we're going to make this legal, you can sell it legally, you know, we're just removing it from the books. States regulate it however they want. There is no more federal crimes of marijuana. You know, maybe that could get something, but even that these days, I think a lot of kids that are in states that have recreational don't know that, you know, there's any issue federally because it's legal. They don't know that it's kind of legal, kind of not legal. And then the places where it's medicinal, I think they kind of, well, you know, it's kind of a wink and a nod thing, but it's fine. And then you get all the Delta 8 type places out there, and it's just like, who is suffering from a lack of access to marijuana these days? You know, it's just not that much of a thing. I don't see it getting the pull that he wants it to. All right, let me see where I want to jump to next. What's our time right now?
55.
Okay, let's. Well, let's talk. We'll talk a little bit about the fancy colors in the sky. So that was another thing that happened this past week. Was the northern lights were able to be seen down in Florida. Further north than where we are, of course. But I'm sure everyone saw the pictures. Some places you can only see them with your phone on like night capture mode. But yeah, the northern lights were seen further down ever before. The fun thing is I just finished this audiobook like, I don't know, 2 weeks ago. It's called, what is it called? I forget. But it's about these people. It starts up where solar activity has basically wiped out electricity for everybody, you know, in the United States. And people are kind of making do, you know, it's challenging. But like after a hurricane, you know, where it's kind of like not everyone's got gas, you know, not everyone, you know, food's kind of challenging, but people are sort of limping through, making do. And then there's news that there's going to be another solar flare, kind of coronal mass ejection, kind of like what wiped out the power, except this one's going to be bigger. And then they discover that behind it's going to be this plasma burst. And because of the way that the coronal mass ejections bend our magnetosphere, it's going to allow this plasma burst to just right through and basically just coat the Earth in radiation for hours or days. So anybody that's on the surface of the Earth will be dead quickly. They, you know, pass out within a minute or two, and then they just die. Every living creature. So this book's about that kind of situation and how this couple has decided that they're going to take a mountain that's being used for continuance of government planning, you know, so governors and lackeys and stuff. And they're like, you know what? We should use it for kids. And so they go, well, you know, they basically had a plan what would be certain teachers and certain adults, but other than that, it's going to be all kids because there's like this mountain that they're going to hide in. But anyway, so that's the plan. They go, it's going to be more like an arc. Someone's got to rebuild society, and we'll be damned if it's going to be the governor and the lieutenant governor and the top donors and all these elderly people. Like, what are they going to rebuild? They're just going to sit around being worthless bureaucrats in a land that doesn't have anything. So that one was all about these things like Carrington events and all that. And then, you know, 1 week later, and the book actually starts with them talking about the last time the Northern Lights were able to be seen down in Florida. But that was 1859. And what happened was we didn't have a lot of electricity back then. And so telegraph was our main electrical deal. And so all the solar activity, all these coronal mass ejections occurred. And there's places that reported telegraph machines catching on fire, shorting out. But it caused problems with anything electrical, which was mainly just that, just mainly telegraph. But it was melting wires, setting stuff on fire. It was crazy. People didn't know what was going on. And then in, what was it, 1980? Yeah, there, 1989. This is in Montreal, in Quebec. there was a blackout due to coronal mass ejection, or to a solar storm. And coronal mass ejection hit the planet, including the currents that overwhelmed the province's power grid. And it plunged Quebec into darkness for more than 9 hours, affecting millions of people, causing economic losses. Funny enough, in that sort of event, old Montreal, Quebec, they learned from it, and they protected their grid, or much of their grid, against these storms in the future. So what we saw this past week with all the pretty lights, all the pretty colors on Facebook and all that kind of stuff, that was damn near enough to wipe out power in America. It did take out some Starlink satellites. It took out some satellites. But that was sun's radiation pushing through our protective layers, and then causing the pretty lights and all that kind of stuff. But outside of Montreal, like, North America is totally unprepared for it being any stronger than what we saw. Any stronger. I mean, not any stronger, but it wouldn't have to be crazy amount stronger for that sort of pretty light event to knock out power for us all. And then problem is, it would fry anything that wasn't like in a Faraday cage. Would probably get zapped and be unable to function anyway. So it's not just like the power lines. It's like, oh, the power lines might catch on fire. We'll run new power lines. It's like, yeah, but transformers. Good luck. I mean, good luck getting one quickly. They're not literal transformers. They can't just robots in disguise and get your stuff going. If we could call Optimus Prime, we would. But I thought it's kind of a fun thing that's gone through that sort of went viral to the world. But I didn't see a lot of people asking, like, why or anything like that. Like, did you?
Everyone's just like, look at the pretty colors. And I'm like, that's really not pretty if you really think about it.
It's pretty.
It looks cool, but it's not cool.
Yeah, like, there's a reason it's down here, and that reason's not ideal. Brett, I always forget if it's Weinstein or Weinstein. Harvey's Weinstein, so I think he's Weinstein, because I think he made a point of it after the Me Too thing to say it's not, because Harvey's Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein? Mm-hmm. Harvey Weinstein? Mm-mm. Okay, yeah. So I think Brett Weinstein. Okay. Starts getting confusing in my head. But he had this whole proposal.
Jews.
The Jews, you know what I'm saying? The damn Jews. Steins and Steins. I don't know the difference. But he has a proposal. It's just like, look, why don't we take some money and spend it on our grid? Like, it's the grid. Why don't we just protect it? And I think his calculations, or his estimates, is it would take around $1 billion to, like, fortify our grid on a national level. Which would be, if that's true, that's cheap.
That's not that bad.
For the nation, especially if that includes Hawaii and Alaska. But considering all the stupid stuff we spend money, like, don't get me wrong, we need to spend a lot less money. But that's even my little libertarian heart can get behind, like, protecting the transformers so that, like, they don't blow. And really, Duke could do it. Our power company is Duke.
If they wanted to.
Here's the kicker, right? So the power company is allowed to be a monopoly through the government, right? And so anytime any amount of money you see on your bill was negotiated with your government 10 years ago. So 10 years ago, the governor and state Congress people met with the power company in your area. And they said, hey, 10 years from now, this is the rates that we want. And they went back negotiating, back and forth, probably a little bribe maybe in there, who knows. And then they came up like, okay, that's fine. This is what we're going to do. And so it was agreed upon. And so by the time it ends up on your bill and you're pissed, well, people you voted for got it there. Maybe the person that's in office now got it there. So if the power company is to spend, $100 million or $50 million, something to go through and fortify everything, it's going to show up on our bill, and like, well, whether it's our bill, I mean, I guess technically it's more fair if it's our bill versus like federal taxpayer money but I don't know if you're going to like fortify the entire nation against the possibility of a solar storm, and maybe it helps you against an EMP too. Like, I'd rather take $1 billion out of defense funding. Because if you took $1 billion out of defense, they wouldn't even notice.
Right. They have no idea where it goes anyway.
No, yeah, like Ukraine. Ukraine's not holding elections. Maybe whatever they were going to spend on elections, we can spend on fortifying our grid. Take some of that money back or something. Think about how many billions we sent to Ukraine. Imagine if we just took one fewer billion and just go, we're gonna spend that on us. Do a little glow up, Feel good. Get my nails done. Protect my transformers.
We could do the rail system while we're at it. I mean,
yeah.
Jesus.
Why not? We'll just do the whole damn thing. And then to the moon. All right. Well, I think that's some of the big things going on. And we didn't get to the multiple Boeing whistleblowers who are dead. They determined one of them was suicide because of his note. It does sound like they got that one pretty good. I guess they did watch security footage, and they're like, well, he parked his truck, and no one came or went to the truck since then. But his suicide message was just like, fuck Boeing. I hate Boeing. I was stoned when I wrote this. Sorry.
Wow.
Yeah, but he was in this place for a deposition on the Boeing stuff when he didn't show for his deposition, so they sent cops looking for him on a welfare check. And, they found him. But it is odd that he decided to off himself while awaiting his deposition the next day.
Maybe he got threats.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe they were going to kill his family. Because he said, I found my purpose in his note. So your purpose was to kill yourself right before your deposition? That doesn't make sense. So what was your purpose? Your purpose is protect your family. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because no one went in and out. And it's like, hey, shame if something happens to your granddaughter or whatever, because suicide or not, sorry, like you and the other whistleblower that had a mystery disease, or I don't feel too good. It's like, well, go to the hospital. What happened in the hospital? Well, he ended up developing pneumonia, so that sucks, and MRSA. Well, that's no good. And yep, had a stroke at some point. It's like, cool. We might need to amputate his hands and feet. All right. It's like, he's dead. Great. All right, everything's functioning well. So, these two guys dropped down. It's probably, it's not like Boeing has anything to lose right now. So that's fine.
Like a random helicopter crash,
That wasn't a Boeing product. I forget who it was. But yeah, now if Boeing came in and sold Iran a nice contract, then we know it's nice and corrupt. It's like, hey, you can't do it, but a nice American company, huh? Death to America? Not today. All right, well, I think they'll do it. Remember to like and subscribe and set alerts and all the things. I totally forgot about not saying the words you're not supposed to say on the YouTubes these days. I don't remember if I did. But I've decided I'm going to try and be a good boy about that.
Okay.
I'm told that it does affect...
Can you spell it?
There's lots of them.
Oh, no.
Yeah, forcing relations upon somebody, that word, which I've said. I think unaliving, how to unalive, or talk about being in a state of unalive, perhaps.
Really?
There's lots of weird things. Some of them are just in the first few minutes. Some of them, it's hard to say.
Oh, my God.
But there's words that, if you say, they, shadow ban you. Not that we're doing that huge numbers, but I will say I have not considered the things that come out of my mouth at all up to this point. So I decided maybe I must start to do that.
Second Amendment? I don't know.
Second Amendment? Yeah, you can't say Second Amendment either. All right. Well, we're going to go shoot our guns, and we're not going to do that. All right. Until next week. What do you got, Charlie?
I have nothing.
Yeah, you don't. You son of a bitch. All right. We'll see you.